Content warning. Viewer discretion is advised. What's up, everybody? This is BakaBites. I'm Frankfurter, that is magically average, and as you just heard my voice say, this is going to be a bit of a heavier episode. There's a lot of content warning in this episode involving SA and CP, because we will be covering what is going on at Shogakukan, aka Manga 1, and all the shitstorm that's surrounded there. So, yeah, if any of that is a trigger to you, by all means, please skip this episode. We will not be offended. But there is a lot to go over. And yeah, so let's kind of just jump into it. But you've been warned. So we are going to be talking about two people, mainly one person. That person being, and we've seen this name now being reported as his actual name. It is Kazuaki Kurita, under the pen names, multiple pen names of Shoichi Yamamoto and where did the other one go? I just
Hajime
had it up.
Ichiro? I think it's Hajime
Yeah,
Ichiro.
Hajime Ichiro. Because yeah, the one that I had up was said Ichiro Ichi, and I'm like, nope, that's not right. But yeah, Hajime Ichiro
Yeah.
were the pen names that they were writing under. But basically, this man is just had a civil case end in which a lot has been brought to light and a lot is just awful. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Our story here, I guess, that we're covering. By the way, we've done a deep dive. We've been to Japanese websites, we've been to English websites to try and get like a timeline as to what all happened when. So we do have like a rough timeline. We'll go into some of the details. I will try to not be too grotesque with these details. I'll try and flavor them down a bit, but they are bad. So this all starts in 2016. Yamamoto or Kazuaki Kurita is a high school professor for an art class, and a 15-year-old girl starts her freshman year or first year in this high school. He one day gave her a ride home and inappropriately touched her, and then traded line IDs with her. Uh, from there was 3 years from 2016 to 2019 in which sexual misconduct had occurred, in which things were not pleasant for this young woman, or this young girl, I should say. But basically, some of it was mild, while others dealt with feces and writing words or names on this person's
De-
body while taking photos.
derogatory
Um,
terms.
derogatory terms, yes. Sorry, thank you for that. And so this all happened within a 3-year span while she was at this high school. It would happen about once or twice a month for 3 years. And once she graduated in March of 2019, she went to a university that was outside of Hokkaido where all of this happened. And during her time at university, which I don't know, it's unclear if she dropped out. I think she did. But basically, he was still harassing her for basically nude photos, all while she was at university, to where she developed PTSD. Um, in February of 2020, she decided to, or a basically criminal case was brought against him for the production and ownership of CP, in which it was of her, and she basically brought this to them to say, hey, this is something that he did and owns. And the case was pretty open closed. It happened rather quickly. And he was forced to pay, just basically, it was a slap on the wrist. It was forced to pay 300,000 yen in damages. So that was the criminal case in 2020. In 2021, basically after this guy's name had been just absolutely thrashed and people no longer wanted to work with him, his editor, oh, yep.
So, real quick point. It should be noted that up to this point, the only people who were aware of this are those that worked closely with this individual. So, people at
So, yeah.
Shogakukan and like his editor, I don't even think many of the artists knew. So,
No.
keeping that aware, because again, all this is being revealed now after the pen names were released and artists started to realize, holy shit, I was working with this person. So in 2021, as you were mentioning, they were talking with their editor and kind of went to that girl in a private group message and said, hey, we'll pay you 1.5 million yen if you just
Yeah.
drop anything else you're going to bring forward and you just keep quiet. It was hush money. And thankfully, she said no. And
Correct. So yeah, also to note, under the name Yamamoto is where he had the criminal case brought against him. So Yamamoto was known at that time. He was working on a serialization which was suspended due to authors, quote unquote, author's poor health, but then basically was taken, it was yanked off
But-
in the year of 2022 when the case started.
yeah, but still to that
But-
point, Shogakukan put out the statement that they were pausing the serialization of his series due to poor
Yeah.
health. They did not release the fact that it was due to his possession and possession of CP and thus violating the CP Prohibition Act in Japan, which, according to Shogakukan's own site, is a clear violation of their own terms. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind as well, because they were aware, and again, editor was aware. Not everyone else was. So yeah.
Yes.
Already
So
getting mad.
no, yeah, I know. Yeah. So basically, all of his stuff was suspended, and then a civil case was brought to court in the year 2022, which was under the name Yamamoto. It was unknown for any other alias, but in the end of 2022, he started working with the same editor under a new pen name, Hajime Ichiro, in which he started a new series for Manga One slash Shogakukan, and basically they were promoting it, producing it all the way up until 2025, and they stopped, I think, promoting it near the end of 2025, and last week the civil case came to a close, in which the defendant Yamamoto had to pay 11 million yen in damages to this girl, and because of that, uh, it was found out that he was still working for Manga One or Shogakukan, and that's kind of where we are. Well, that's like the end of the case, and that's like, hey, now he's like officially on hiatus, etc. And Shogakukan's released statements of being like, hey, we're putting a task force together or like a third party task force together to investigate how this guy was still able to be a part of this company and like work for this company and produce material for this company, as well as investigating other people. We'll come back to that later, but let's just start with this criminal case and civil case. How I get that Japan has different laws than the United States, but this is just baffling that this can keep happening. Like, this isn't like the first mangaka that has this is that's done this. It certainly won't be the last, but it's just like, how does this keep happening? What the hell is going on? Like, how are they not getting jail time? I feel like the only way they can end this is if it results in jail time. But is this like, is it that common of an occurrence across the board in Japan that it's like, well, we can't throw everybody in jail. We may as well just give them a slap on the wrist. But it makes no sense to my brain because we live in a different country with different laws.
Yeah, I'm gonna quickly look up something while we're.
That's fine.
But no, I was. I mean, I can remark on what you just said though. It is. This is not me saying it in bad taste. It's not me making a commentary as a whole, but it's a different culture. there's a different set of laws. It's the same in every single country around the world. Like, we put, the United States puts a heavier penalty on financial crime. It,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I'm reading a case right now in my neck of the woods where two individuals owned a massive, basically conglomerate of certain companies, and for years had been embezzling hundreds of millions of dollars, and they finally got caught. They're getting life plus 80 years. Someone could get
ridiculous.
Someone could get murdered, like second degree homicide, whatever the case is. They might only get 15 years. Right? It's just everywhere is different. Certain countries, you kill someone, you die. Yeah, like
there's a literal eye for an eye.
Yeah, exactly. There's it's reciprocal. It's like whatever crime you commit, we do that crime against you. If you steal $1 million, we take $1 million of your money. If you kill someone, we kill you. Like it's always it's different based on culture. It's different based on the legal system that's been implemented. Whether it's like one that is grounded in olden times that's just never been really evolved, and others that have evolved to the times at hand, right? For Japan, though, I mean, I say this with no malice, but also with, the hope that there will eventually be change.
Yeah.
They don't punish these types of crimes like most other countries do. Like, we saw it with the author of Rurouni Kenshin. Like, they didn't sexually assault anyone, right? But they had terabytes of CP. Like terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of CP, and
metric fuck ton.
And they got the slap on the wrist fine, and their series is still alive to this day. They remastered the anime for it. Like, it's as if nothing ever happened. It's to many of those who remember when this took place, and they're like, no, this is disgusting. This is abhorrent. Like, we would never support anything like this ever, right? It's frustrating to see something like this happen again, right? And in an even more grotesque manner, right?
And it doesn't even matter that like his manga might not be as like renowned. It's still
exactly
in a major publication.
Exactly. And I think that's I would say that is more prevalent in the United States, right? It's like, who are you? Oh, you're this person? Oh, well, we're going to try to we'll kind of squeak around the book, we'll say. We'll finagle it a little bit to figure out how we can get you off. If you're this type of person though, whole book plus this other book thrown at you for sure, right? Like most other countries you see, it's a pretty blanket approach to the legal system, right? I mean, I don't want to bring up current news and talk about some other insanely grotesque thing that's happening here, but like there's the famous picture that's circulating of Prince Andrews of Great Britain, where he looks like he's in a comatose state on like some stretcher bed or whatever. Like, they arrested royalty. Right? Like,
which is batshit crazy, and like to think, not think about it, but it's just like
we won't even arrest like someone in Hollywood in the United States. Like we will do everything we can to avoid taking someone out of the limelight because they're a treasure here. Like, go fuck yourself for that. But I digress.
Yeah.
So I don't want to look at this and say I'm not surprised. I still am, right? And the manner in which Shogakukan handled it is probably the most egregious out of anything, right? Which is why they're in deep shit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm reading through it and I'm like, it's unfortunately kind of par for the course for how Japan handles these types of situations, which is, again, very frustrating.
Yep. And I think the fact that this is like the fact that the news came out and he got blacklisted essentially from other artists and, peers alike, and then it comes to light that he's still been working I understand all. I mean, granted, I hope anybody would understand all the backlashes. Shogakukan. Sorry, not Shogugakukan. Shogakukan is getting. So to kind of continue the timeline of events, this all happened on Thursday. On Friday, Manga One published a statement in which they basically were saying, "Hey, we're hiring a third party to look into the events as to how he was able to stay on board and basically create for our publication. Because if we knew, quote unquote, if we knew, we wouldn't have had it." But they hired a third party. That was Friday. Saturday, a lot of manga creators who work for Shogakukan basically voiced their outrage because this isn't like a huge guy like the Rurouni Kenshin author who, some people spoke out about, but a lot of people just kind of kept quiet.
Yeah.
But you have authors who have spoken out against this, including one who is the author of One Punch Man and Mob Psycho 100, Rumiko Takahashi, which is Ranma One Half, Inuyasha, and then Kanehito Yamada, the author for Frieren, and amongst other bigger names as well that have larger series. They've all said, "Hey, pull my fucking work from your site.
Yeah.
Unless you do something to rectify and figure this the fuck out, we don't want you having our works on your website." And so there are some series that are not available on Manga One now, which is in Japan. Mostly it's Rumiko Takahashi, which is Ranma One Half, Inuyasha, and they have Yatsuda.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember it off the top of my name,
Yeah.
but
The alien one.
yeah, they've fully pulled their work off of their site because they were that adamant about it. And so this all happened kind of Saturday and has kind of continued to trickle down into Sunday. And then as of this evening, there's been an update to all this in which the third party hasn't, to our knowledge, hasn't started work in investigating all of this. But Manga One slash Shogakukan is kind of trying to get ahead of any and all misfortune that will befall their name, in which they in the update, which for this article that I'm reading off of is from Polygon. After publication of this article, new details have emerged concerning Shogakukan, hiring another convicted mangaka under a false name. Tatsuya Mitsuki, author of Act Age, published on Shueisha's Weekly Shonen Jump, was found guilty in 2020 of committing indecent acts with a middle school girl. Matsuki was then hired in 2020. Basically, it's not showing this in here, but from what you've told me, Tatsuya Matsuki went to jail for a period of time, like
Yes.
maybe a year and a half or something like that.
Yeah.
Basically came out of jail and then in 2024 was rehired by Shogakukan. Shogakukan, yeah. God, I keep getting that name wrong. Under a new pen name of Yatsunami Miki, or I think there was another name that you had for them.
Yeah,
but that's the one that they're reporting.
I can read it just directly off of Shogakukan's website because they put a statement out on their website for their news. So
yeah, that's fine. You read that.
And this was published with the consent of Yatsunami Itsuki. So they were arrested and indicted on suspicion of indecent assault in August 2020 and subsequently received a guilty verdict, which came with a 1 year and 6 month prison sentence, along with suspended for 3 years, which I'm not sure if that means house arrest in Japan or not. But regardless, this is hard to read. The editorial department of Shogakukan was aware of this fact before deciding to appoint him as the original author of a new series they listed as The Psychologist of the Frozen Age. The editorial department confirmed that the sentence had been finalized and that the suspended sentence had expired, and also confirmed his remorse for the incident, his efforts to prevent a recurrence, and the status of support for his reintegration into society provided by experts, and then deliberated the matter internally. That's when they revealed that in 2024, so this would have been again at the conclusion of his full sentence. An editor at Manga One requested a meeting with the X account under the name Matsuki Tatsuya, which is the pen name. Basically, the next day, he sent an email to the editor informing him that he was writing a novel and it would become the basis of this new series. A week or so later, the editor-in-chief at the time met for the first time in Tokyo. Again, he made sure to tell him his strong feelings of atonement towards the victim, his regrets and remorse for the incident, the changes in his life and inner self from the incident through the end of this suspended sentence, and his decision to write a novel. It's just is all sounding like Shogakukan trying to confirm to people, well, he told us he was a good person.
Yeah.
For the reasons stated above, they decided to use the pen name Yatsunami Itsuki. The main reason was out of considerations for those who had been affected, which is why they used that pen name rather than their previous one or their actual name.
So with this being
Yeah.
just released, like within hours ago, I haven't really looked at many of the, people who have come out to be like, hell no, like, pull my works, etc. I haven't seen if any of them have said anything since, but I can only imagine that this fallout is only going to get worse for Shogakukan.
So here's one aspect that we haven't talked about that I don't want it to sound like this is a defense for Shogakukan, okay? Because it's not.
Right.
It really is not. But it's a fact nonetheless. According to everything that's been cited so far with Yamamoto for the most recent one, right? We're done talking about the other guy because that's frustrating in itself.
Yeah.
I especially when I read the line about how they approached the illustrator, explained to him the incident about this author, and the illustrator still accepted the request willingly, quoting, "It was the first time in my life I was moved to tears while reading the manga, and I felt that this was a work that I should draw." So
No,
it's just kind of, it's a lot of the put it to the back of my brain because there's potential money on the line.
yeah.
The thing that should be pointed out is that apparently the reason why Shogakukan is using like this, the third party investigative committee to go through the editorial department specifically is because they were not truly aware that this editor had gone out of their way and reached out to Yamamoto and then had them go underneath this other pseudonym or pen name originally. They were made aware after the fact, but stuck around with it. Unlike this situation with the guy who actually went to prison, where they knew the individual was convicted, had a jail sentence, and came out, right, looking for work, and they reached out to him. This with Yamamoto and this new one, they were kind of left in the dark for a period of time because apparently his editor, his close friend, kind of went rogue and didn't follow their normal process. I would argue that they didn't have a process, which I think they also kind of admit to in their article. It says, "We have discovered that the manga one." This is quoting the newsletter from Shogakukan. "In response to this incident, we are conducting internal investigation using that third-party committee." Direct quote from the article from the newsletter. "In the process, we have discovered that the Manga One editorial department needs to investigate the process and verification system for hiring the original author of The Psychologist of the Stars," which is the person in question. AKA, they don't really have a true process in place, or if they do, it's easily circumvented and people can just go rogue without any oversight whatsoever, which is equally terrifying. So that's where I'm kind of frustrated too. And again, this is not me giving an excuse to Shogakukan whatsoever, but for them to be like, yeah, we probably need to relook and reevaluate our editorial process to make sure, people are actually being verified and stuff. It's like, well, he was verified. They just used a different pen name. You didn't do your due diligence to figure out who the fuck this person was.
Yeah, I also should note, because I don't think either of us brought this up. Shogakukan is not like a household name in our, United States. This is the founder of Shueisha. This is the parent company of Shueisha, which is Shonen Jump, Viz Media, etc. Like, it is the parent company.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the fact that this type of egregious acts have been able to just reoccur is baffling. And I think you and I, we kind of had a difference of opinions going into this, in the sense of, like, you were thinking that this is the end of them, because you have all these big names pulling out, and like, you don't know, like, I don't know if you still stand on that, but like, I don't necessarily think that this will be the end of Shueisha, Shonen Jump, etc., etc. But at the same time, it's just like, I think that this has to be the turning point of just like, there's zero tolerance. Absolutely. Doesn't matter if the fucking author is a genius, they have to have a zero tolerance.
They had a zero tolerance policy. They said it in their article, literally in the first paragraph. Like, they're like, we don't,
because,
we will never tolerate we will never tolerate sexual assault, sexual exploitation, or any other human rights violation. We recognize that respect for human rights is the most important thing for a company to do as a member of society, is literally how they start this notice on their website. It is the first 2 sentences that they put in the article.
Yeah. I see it.
The issue that I have with this stuff, and I have it with every sort of, not even company, anyone that's in the spotlight, anyone that's in the public's eye, right? For them to just think they can absolve themselves of any recourse or any like backlash or consequences by just being like, look, I admit fault, okay? And I want to reassure you folks out there that we abide by our standards. And our standards is we uphold human rights. We are a zero tolerance company for anything that violates human rights. And it's like, clearly you're not. Clearly you're not. You literally hired someone willingly and knowingly who had been convicted of sexual assault.
To a middle schooler.
Yes. That part is no, absolutely not.
It's tone deaf as hell. It's that's for sure.
My comment about the fall of Shogakukan is not an immediate precipitous fall. It's going to be one that is death by 1,000 cuts, and those cuts come in the form of creators who will now basically refuse to go to them, and they're going to try to live on scraps. This is not a dig at up-and-coming mangakas. This is not a dig at small series. This is purely capitalism 101, how the giant machine of the manga industry trudges along is through large series that push out thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of volumes, right? That's what keeps these things alive. And I'm literally looking at the article that I have on our screen right now, and it says the fallout was immediate and severe. Major manga creators, including, as you noted, Rumiko Takahashi, as you said as well, Haro Aso, creator of Zom 100, Ruya Tamura, creator of Cosmos, and others announced suspensions of their series from Manga One or demanded their works be removed entirely.
Yep.
Like, those are big series, some of which are big new series.
And so, I was going to say, and Zom 100 is honestly, it's wrapping up. It is nearly done. You
just lost out on
3 chapters, and there's legitimately like 3 chapters left until Zom 100 is done.
So in the era of mangaka, like, flocking to Shogakukan, right? Flocking to get their things published on Shueisha, through Shonen Jump, through, whomever, right? Now they're going to be begging creators to come to them It's a full 180. It's a full reversal. So again, it's not going to be immediate. It's not going to be like tomorrow everything's shut down, we're closing the doors, good luck everyone. It's going to be like I'll be aggressive. I'll say 3 years from now, they're either going to get bought out or you're going to see a massive sell-off of a lot of their different entities, I think. I don't see how they could like reasonably survive this with the number of people, the number of mangaka who have already come out and said, you will remove my stuff or I will do it forcefully. Is the mentality that they've been coming to them. And then they even have like artists and illustrators through that's through Shogakukan that have come out and been appalled by the fact that they were blindsided by this, right? And so you were losing out on a core division of your team of illustrators, which mangaka rely heavily on. Like if you don't have an illustrator that you go to regularly for your series, you usually go through a publishing company to help out. And now what are you gonna tell your mangaka? Sorry, you have to outsource them now because we don't have anyone that's willing to work with us. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
I can see it from that perspective. It is worth noting real quick. In the United States, all of those series that we have mentioned so far, whether it be Ranma 1/2, Frieren, Cosmos, etc., they are still up on the Viz Media app. So if you've been like, oh, I don't know if I should read these or not, like you're about to not be able to read them. Yeah, either you need to buy the physicals or you'd hurry and best read them quick because they're about to go away.
That's the other thing too.
I know that there were a couple that have suggested, hey, read it, like basically read it illegally if you can. They've said read it elsewhere if you can.
I mean, it is for people being like, oh, you could just read it digitally, whatever. Or like, oh, you can read it physically. Like, how can they stop printing it? Or if it's already in stores, I'll just go out and buy it. It's like, yeah, but they are telling them, do not print any more of my series. So they're fighting lots of battles and they're losing most of them, if not all of them.
Yeah.
Real quick, a side tangent back to our disgust about the lack of a reasonable judgment in lieu of the victim and what they had to go through. I completely forgot this. It pains me to bring this up as a reason and rationale for why the sentence or lack of, I should say, did not happen through the civil case. But I would like to remind everyone out there that it was not until June 16th of 2023, so just over 2.5 years ago, that Japan raised the age of sexual consent from 13 to 16. So during the time that this individual was being harassed and sexually abused by their perpetrator, they were under Japanese law technically at an age of consent. Hence why the argument from the defendant was that it was consensual and it wasn't
right.
Anything aggressive.
They did get accused of rape, though.
They did.
There is
correct
that in there.
Correct. Yes.
Some of it allegedly was, some of it allegedly wasn't. But
and they did revise. I'm going through the PBS News article. Thank you, PBS. And I'm doing this on my phone. So if people are wondering, oh, you're not showing the article, I'm not showing this article. This is we've already shown enough.
There's
this
a
is
lot.
Too much.
There's a lot in a lot of these articles of just like, whew.
Yeah. In 2017, they actually revised the criminal code on sexual crimes for the first time in 110 years. Again, if that does not go to show you how, I don't even want to say slow, like how
late of an adopter.
I wouldn't even say that. It's just, again, it's a lot of it within the legal realm, and again, I am not touting to be someone who is knowledgeable in every area of law. I'm barely knowledgeable in my own area of law. That's a joke if anyone from who I know is listening.
No, it's not. But
But
yes, it is.
but
Or is
like
it?
from
Unless.
from a societal perspective, like a lot of how laws are created, like the jurisprudence of it all is through like a cultural background, right? And so in clearly there's a not a stigma, but it's more of like a I don't want to say pride either, because then that gives the impression that they're prideful of supporting this type of behavior, which is again not what I'm trying to say. But a lot of times it's hard to make changes like this because it's so ingrained in a society and in a culture, right? And we are
Yeah.
not ones that can only point the finger, because we will have the finger pointed right back at us. I mean, I don't know if many of you are aware of the oh god, I'm going to make sure I get this right. There was a state who may or may not have adopted the amendment to abolish slavery. Very, very, very late in the game.
I vaguely remember this. Yes.
The state, and it's the 21st Amendment. I'm just making sure. Nope, that's the prohibition on alcohol. We have too many amendments. This is why I was not good at constitutional law. 13th Amendment. Thank you. God, I don't know why I kept that. The last state to ratify the 13th Amendment was Mississippi. Okay? Would
That
you
makes
like to
sense.
know, would you like to know when Mississippi ratified the 13th Amendment, meaning that they actually adopted it into their constitution
So
for the
as you
state of
said,
Mississippi?
Mississippi, my Google results showed up, so I saw. So please tell the audience, because holy fuck, man.
Mississippi was the final state to ratify the 13th Amendment on February 7th. Hey, we're just past the anniversary. February 7th of 2013.
Oh, I saw 1995.
Oh, that's when they voted. The paper, well, it says an oversight resulted in the required paperwork never being sent to the U.S. archivist, a mistake corrected years later. So technically speaking,
Officially
they did.
recorded in 2013.
Yes, they actually voted on it and ratified in 1995, but they didn't file it until 2013.
And you got to wonder why Mississippi's ranked
And in
last
case-
in every fucking educational department.
And in case you weren't aware, the original proposal of the 13th Amendment that they had rejected, because obviously they didn't accept it until 1995, was 1865. The year when we officially abolished slavery. It took them 130 years to ratify it. Okay, so we are not ones to talk.
Yep.
Nice legal side tangent. But again, it's one of those unfortunate things where you look at this and you're just kind of hoping like, hey, let's get a nice retrospective in on these types of cases. Let's try to use this as a stepping stone towards improving, because clearly there's a significant amount of backlash in just the manga community, and now it's making worldwide news, and we're not being looked at in a good light for the fact that this one individual is only getting 11 million yen, which sounds like a lot on paper. I think it's roughly $70,000 for what is an entire life of
Pain.
Yeah, and suffering and mental anguish and things that you and I probably cannot even fathom as they're going through. I want to just, as much as it's going to pain me to read this comment, I think it does highlight just how awful of a situation this girl was put in at the time. From the Sapporo District JP News editorial department on the civil case, a quote from the victim, and let me find it real quick. Here it is. Quote, "If I used all my senses during the act, it would be so painful that I would go crazy. So I tried to distance myself from the act so that I wouldn't feel anything. After repeating this, I got into the habit of pushing myself out of my mind, and I began to enter a state of dissociation." This is something that this individual experienced for 3 years straight in the most impressionable years of one's life. And it is now going to affect them for most, if not all, of their life remaining. I'm sure I hope they are receiving care to get through this. I purposely chose to not use the words "get over it" because there's no way you can, but to be able to move on and try to actually be able to live again, and not be grossly chained to these past situations, but to actually be able to live your own life. That's what I hope for this person. And I hope too that this is, again, a movement forward to ratify and rectify these types of cases to ensure that victims not only get the justice that they deserve, but also that the perpetrators are rightly punished for their crimes in both a financial means, I think in a communal means by, making sure they're shunned in some way, shape, or form, right? Like,
Blacklisted to hell and back.
yep. I mean, why do you think we have the child predator lists, right? If you're not
Yeah.
aware, in the United States, there are child predator lists. For most states, I think it might be state by state, but I know in the state that I live in, you can go to a website and you can search your area, and you will be able to tell who you're living by
Who's on that
that
list?
is on the list. Yep. And I will
Yep.
note that they're not all situations of like this. Sometimes it's public indecency. You could be put on that list depending on who sees it. But doesn't matter. It does not defeat. It does not weigh any differently in the the grand scheme of things. It's still a crime nonetheless. No matter the gravity of the crime or the severity of the crime. But I think again, this area of law is something that we routinely, as unfortunate as it sounds for us to say, routinely see happening in Japan with little to no true recourse. Yes, thank you. For those that are perpetrating. And I think that's where it's most frustrating for many of us, is that, there's clearly a discrepancy between the crime that is committed and the punishment that they're receiving for said crimes that clearly need to be fixed.
There's one last note and then one comment that I'll say, and then we can end this because Jesus, this is a heavy episode. One last note: the 11 million that the defendant Yamamoto has to owe, 10 million of it is going to the victim. The other 1 million is to pay for the victim's legal fees. So the victim will be getting 10 million yen, not the full 11. The last comment I have on this whole situation is, God, do I hope they bring down the author for fucking Rurouni Kenshin another peg, because boy howdy did he get off with fucking basically just as bad, if not worse. No, not worse, because this actually happened to a real human being.
Yeah.
But it is a bad situation that he was found out to have, and he got fucking nothing, and he's still living it up. And I really hope they revisit that and point him out too in this whole situation. But I know that probably won't happen, and it's just my personal hope that it does.
A silver lining through this all, at least, because we'll try to leave it on a high note as much as we can. There is discussion, I guess, with the plaintiff, so the victim and their attorneys, that they will actually appeal the decision. and try to push for a greater punishment, I believe, because the plaintiff claimed that a student had been sexually assaulted by the defendant, so Yamamoto, in a similar manner before this particular victim had consulted the school, and the school took no action.
Yep.
Their attorney also pointed out that the exchanges over text between teachers and students was left unchecked, and another teacher at the school had posted on social media such as, quote, I exchanged a line with a high school girl again today, end quote, and, quote, I put my arm around a student today, end quote. Their attorney continued by saying, quote, we will, of course, consider whether to appeal, but in addition to the legal perspective, we would like to see broader perspective on whether this is socially acceptable, end quote. Again, hopeful that this is kind of it will not catapult, but propel these types of cases further on to have greater discussion on how they would like to see the laws changed or at least enforced. So as
Yeah.
as much of a silver lining as we can get, that's all we can give for this type of situation. But the hope is that there will be further action taken in the future to prevent these situations, and if they were to happen, to ensure that there's justice delivered accordingly.
Yep. With that, thank you all for joining us this week. A bit of a heavier week. Next week, hopefully, will be a bit lighter of a conversation. But until then, you can follow us on social medias at Baka&Co. I know this is such a weird outro.
The
in the
plug,
sense it's like,
yeah.
I want to go through it all, but boy, this situation is just
if you
really
want to
put a dampen.
if you want to stay up to date on
just,
the news, we try to post news on top of what's coming out and stuff. We do. These types of subjects are a lot harder, but they are they need to be covered for obvious reasons. So yes, if you would like to ensure that you're staying up to date on this news or what's coming out in the future, whatever the case might be, we try to cover as much as we can in Japanese media. So please think about giving us a follow
at Bakacopodcast, wherever you get your short form content. We will be back next week with hopefully a brighter and better topic. But until next time, Spark Triumph. We'll see you then.